Hi, I'm Raylene, and welcome to Khaleesi Clues. In this video, I will be discussing the Alys Rivers and Aemon Targaryen scenes from Season 3, House of the Dragon, Episode 6, titled Faceless Men. So let's go ahead and get started, and remember, there may be spoilers if you are not familiar with the entire story that has been published in the books. Scene number 1. The scene begins with a view in a mirror of Aemon looking at his healing wound. I have to say, I thought his hands looked really creepy, the way that the mirror distorted their appearance. They looked like freakishly long, skinny, white, wormy fingers. At times, it almost looked like he had 3 fingers instead of 4. It was probably just my imagination getting away from me, but every time I watch it, I still feel and see the same. And why would they film a distorted scene like that? If it didn't have any other implication behind that weird, distorted image, I would have rather have seen how his wounds were actually healing. And also, when I went back and rewatched it, Alys's hair appears to me as it looks gray, and then as she draws closer to Aemond, it changes to her more attractive Alys that we see on screen. Alys walks into the room and starts putting some medicine on his face. Aemond wants to leave to find Vhagar now that he is feeling better and feels as if his debt to Alys is paid. Alys doesn't want him to leave, and her first attempt to get him to stay is by trying to talk some sense into him. Alys tells him, "A frog in winter sleeps under the ice, still and silent. Mend your wounds, gather your strength. Let the world think you dead until the spring thaw." It's interesting that we now have a second reference to frogs. The first one being from Episode 5, when Ormond spoke to Daeron about Maria Martell, also known as the Yellow Toad of Dorne. And now we have Alys telling Aemond to be like a frog. You just got to know that there is a hidden reference there, so I looked up some information about yellow frogs. It just so happens to turn out that many yellow toads and frogs are highly poisonous. The most famous example is the golden poison frog of Colombia, which secretes, there's that favorite word they like to use a lot, a lethal neurotoxin, and is considered one of the most poisonous animals on Earth. Pretty interesting that these frog references are so close together and are now being directed at Aemond. Is the show saying that Aemond is dangerous to humans? And isn't that kind of what Aemond has been doing by laying low there at Harrenhal while he has been healing, only to resurface later, most likely being even a bit stronger with a powerful witch like Alys by his side? Here's another thing that came to my mind. Although Alys spoke that line to Aemond, I wondered if it could possibly be referencing yet another character that looks very similar to Aemond. You could almost call him a twin. No, not Daemon, but actually one who has yet to be born, and that is Brynden Rivers, also known as Bloodraven. We have to remember where this character is found many years in the future from this timeline. During the Game of Thrones series, it is discovered that Bloodraven is still alive. And where do we find him? Very much like a frog, he's found lying deep under the snow-covered ground in weirwood tree roots in the very far winter lands beyond the wall. Makes me wonder how deadly could Bloodraven be since he's been hidden for so very long. Aemond is not moved. He jumps up and says he needs to find a horse. Alys isn't giving up that easy. She tries tactic number 2. if talking sense to him doesn't work, let's try to scare him into staying. She tells him, "There is a bounty on your life. Every sellsword is combing the woods, hoping to slit your throat in the night. Oh, and half the common folks, too. Even you must sleep. There's no place to rest your head." He counters with stating, "And nor am I safe here then, or you, for harboring me." Alys closes the distance between them again and questions, "Is it possible that Vhagar flew away as a way of protecting you? Without her, you are hidden. The queen assumes that where your dragon is, there you will be too." Now, hold that thought, because how would she know what the queen assumes? I mean, it is rather obvious that one would assume that wherever a dragon rider is located, that their dragon would not be far for the most part. But I think Alys is dragging Rhaenyra into the conversation to instill a bit more fear, and then it also gives her the chance to remind him that he only has one dragon, where Rhaenyra has 6. This reinforces the idea that he is alone in the world. Scene number 2, Helena's tapestry. We have to talk about this scene between Alicent and Helena, where it shows the tapestry that Helena has been making. You can clearly see the image of Aemond lying in fetal position in what looks like a pool of blood, which is shaped like a vulva. Although you can see the blue stitches representing Aemond's sapphire eye, the problem with this is that Aemond's sapphire eye on the show is located on the left side of his face, whereas on the tapestry, the blue eye is sewn on the right side of his face. This is a deliberate clue by the show. The problem is trying to figure out what this clue actually means. I could only think of 3 things that it could possibly be. Number 1, maybe the blue eye actually represents having his third eye opened by Alys, in which case maybe Aemond will be able to see prophetic visions through the weirwood tree. Number 2, Aemond actually has blue eyes, so maybe his sapphire eye is just hidden? Or number 3, Aemond's sapphire eye is blind, so with that tapestry showing a sapphire eye on the right, and with him already being blind on the left side, could this symbolize him being completely blind, possibly representing the loss of Vhagar, leaving him feeling blind and vulnerable in a way because she is not there with him at Harrenhal? Being blind can also define as being hidden or out of sight, which fits well for his stay there at Harrenhal. Actually, there's quite a few of good definitions for the word blind that would work in reference to Aemond and Alys. The word blind primarily means unable to see or lacking good judgment. Moving on, you can see Alys above Aemond on the right upper corner. It looks as if Aemond has his arms open while he is surrounded by shadows that are coming from Alys. Also, there are dragon eggs behind her. You can definitely see Harrenhal in the background, along with the blue and red roses at the bottom of the tapestry. I believe the blue and red colors of the roses represent the Song of Ice and Fire prophecy, with the blue roses symbolizing ice and the red fire. And keep in mind that the original scene started with that distorted mirror image with Alys shown in that bluish color and then Aemond shown in that reddish color. So it kind of ties the 2 scenes together. Overall, when I looked at the tapestry, Alys casting spells, Aemond in a fetal position like a baby in a womb, with the ice and fire colored flowers, It makes me think that Alys is trying to create the prophecy of the prince that was promised. If that is the case, then this could end up with some disastrous results. Scene number 3. Aemond is shown readying a horse for his departure. The stable boy walks in carrying a bucket of water, sees Daemon, and freezes in his tracks. Daemon turns to go after him. The boy panics and drops the bucket with water splashing everywhere like a crashing wave. The scene cuts to a close-up, and from that spraying water, Alys has now appeared out of nowhere to fatally stab the boy. That water connection ties in with her true identity, both as Alys Rivers and also, if I am correct about her true past identity, as Alys Hoare, Queen of the Isles and the Rivers. Aemond is intrigued by this action, and he realizes that Alys truly could have killed him all along. This gives Alys her last-ditch effort to keep Aemond there. She tries temptation by pulling out the box of dragon eggs. To me, Alys's character has changed in her actions towards Aemond. She's acting very different with Aemond than she did with Daemon. As Aemond is holding an egg, Alys tells him, "I do not know the ways of dragons, but I have long envisaged the return of the Targaryens to this ancient seat." Aemond tells her, "I have been cursed for my sins." Alys relates to him and states, "I'm tired of this desolate existence." As Aemond is holding the old egg, Alys touches it with her blood-stained hand from the stable boy, and Aemond notices that the egg is warm. Basically, I feel like they are both acting out of desperation. She's been alone for possibly 400 years. He feels that he's been alone his whole life, and now even more so without Vhagar. She's got the knowledge of this important prophecy, and she's looking at him like, "Let's make this happen. I'll be the Lady of the Water, you will be the Dragon Lord, and together we will make this prophesied prince that was promised, reclaiming this ancient seat of power, and the world will be ours, and we will never feel alone again." She proposes this pact to him, and it seems as if it is sealed with a kiss between the two of them, as the sound of a crying baby begins in the background before it bleeds into the next scene. So it seems as if their plan is going to be successful with producing some sort of life between their union. Just a special note to the beginning of the next scene, as the crying baby is still heard in the background as a man petitions to Rhaenyra how tallow is scarce, and without it they cannot light their sconces. I think this is once again this talk about candles, which gives light by fire, is symbolism for life, which is an interesting combination of clues. A baby crying in the background that symbols life, yet the discussion of not being able to light their sconces as being a symbol of lack of light or life. It makes me wonder if this ties in with Helena's statement to Alicent about seeing Aemond at Harrenhal and that he burns without fire. Could Aemon burns symbolize the fact that he is alive, and then without fire symbolize Alys, who I would assume is not alive? It is also noted in the books that up until now, Alys has only produced stillborn children. Will the fire from Aemon's seed be enough to sustain life for the both of them? Melisandre from Game of Thrones series has stated that there is power in king's blood. But there is also a line from the Game of Thrones series when Robb Stark finds the direwolf pups that have been born from the slain mother, and a man states, "Born with the dead, worse luck." We have seen what appears to be magically produced by two fire elements, such as the shadow baby created by Melisandre and Stannis. Maybe we will see what is produced from the magical mixture of fire and ice elements from Aemond and Alys before the series is over. Well, that sums up my thoughts and ideas for the Alys and Aemond scenes from this episode. I hope you have all enjoyed the video. If you would like to show support, please like and leave me a comment. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.